we sometimes stay locked into people and places longer than we should be.
Yeah.
And we convince ourselves that because we are grateful to either who they've been to us
Oh,
or what they've done to us, like, and so we're staying out of gratitude, right? But really, there are some indicators and some flags that our perceived gratitude might actually be guilt informed.
A growing health, wellness, and leadership podcast designed for you to become your most empowered self.
great day, amazing humans. Welcome to the Empowered in My Skin podcast, where our mission is to help 1 billion people in this world think in more empowering ways. Empowered humans empower humans. So you are the right spot to become a lead domino for empowerment today. So let the show begin. Okay, so now the moment I'm like so excited to get into, I want to get into the book. And it launched on April 9th, which I love. And so what, how you feeling about the launch?
Nervous, I think.
Yeah.
Excited, nervous, because it's like go time, right?
Yeah,
It's like some of your most vulnerable moments that you penned behind the safety of your laptop that someone gets to now just crack open, read, interpret, love or hate, but I feel unburdened.
So can you take us, so one, how long has this project been in progress?
About 3 years.
Okay.
3 years. Yeah. 3 years
Okay.
in the making.
And where were you in life when you decided to sit down and start to pen this book?
Yeah, I was just I was serving at my church. There was actually a speaker there and I was on duty to kind of serve and support. Had never met them before. And while I was supporting them, they kind of paused in the middle of what they were doing and they were just like, I need to pray for someone right now. And they hadn't met, like I was serving, but they hadn't met me. They didn't even know my name. And they're like, I need to pray for someone. And when I pray for this person, it's going to mark the beginning of the great things that God will do with their life and with their ministry. And then he's like, the person I need to pray for is Nicole Salmon. He called me by my first and my last name 3 times. He's like, Nicole, like when someone's looking off, like they're reading a chalkboard, like they're getting a download. He's like, Nicole, and he said it 3 times, and everyone's because I'm right here, and he went on to talk about the fact that he's like, I see you writing books about writing books about purpose and many books on purpose. I see this desire in your heart to travel the nations and equip and empower women to walk in their.
I have this person in my life. Like, what the?
Right. And so, by then it's like, oh, right. And it was a weird moment because the purpose, he's using my language, right? He's talking about purpose. He's talking about the global call that I felt on my life since I was a kid. And I can't say that. So I always romanticized being a published author. As a coach, I'm like, you're supposed to have books, you're told, right? So I'm just like, yeah, I want to have many books, but I never wasn't committed to the process of writing these many books. I just kind of liked the idea of many books, right? And that for that next year, everywhere I went, I describe it in every conversation this way. It was like I owed God back rent. And it was like he was meeting me up in the oddest places, he coming to collect. Someone would come up to me and they'd be like, there's a book that you're supposed to be writing, aren't you? I'm like, I ain't even in the country. Who told you? How'd you, everywhere I went, this theme of you need to be writing, where's the book? And that went on for about a year. God patiently pursued me. I was going to say chase, but he patiently pursued me for about a year until I was like, okay. It became so confrontational that I'm like, it felt like that game hot potato. Like there was a hot potato in my hand. And I had to get it out of my hand quickly. And so I started writing. I knew, of course, it was going to be about purpose. I didn't know exactly what I was writing. I just knew that it was time for me to take everything that was in my head, all the downloads, all the experiences, all the methodologies and learnings and all the things. I just needed to get it out of my head. And I figured God can decide what he wants to do with it after that. And so I started writing, and I got about 2 or 3 chapters in when I was asked to speak at a conference, ironically, not so ironically, for women of color who are communicators. And a publisher sponsored the event. And so they made available spots to the speakers to either meet with the publisher or meet with the agent, depending on where you were in your writing journey. And so I met with an agent.
Of course, it was a publisher that sponsored the event, right?
Of course. So I met with my now literary agent, Javon Bolden of Embolden Media Group. We met. I didn't even know what an agent was. I didn't know what they did. Didn't know why you had to have one.
Yeah.
You know, she asked me to submit a sample of my writing. I submitted what I had been working on. What was supposed to be like a 15-minute call ended up being almost an hour of us over Zoom. And she had actually been following me already. So she wasn't a stranger to my voice and to my work. And as they say, the rest is history. A month later, she signed me as a client, and the writing process began. It was not linear. There was a lot of adversity. I'm sure we're going to get into that. A lot of adversity, but took about maybe a year and a half to complete. In that process, we pitched to, a number of publishers and ended up Nav Press, who is the publisher of the popularized Message Bible, for those who are familiar with that. The book was acquired by them, by Nav Press, and here we are.
I love it. And I have to ask, because I want to talk about the title, the subtitle. In the process of writing, I always say commitment is staying true to what you said you're going to do long after the feeling which you said it has passed. And I can only imagine that you were lifing through that.
100%.
Can you talk us through how you stayed committed to the process through that you have? Did you have a technique to do that?
I think I describe it this way. I say this in the book, that purpose places a demand on what's inside of you. And so I think there was just an internal, there was a internal demand, there was a horizontal demand, and there was a vertical demand for the book. And so, to be honest, like I said, when I started, it wasn't like I came out the gate all excited about, no, God was pursuing. He's just like, I need you to write a book. It wasn't even like I was like, dear God, can you please help me? But no, thank you. Like, I do not love writing. I don't know if
I was just about to, I was actually going to ask you, like, do you journal? Do you love writing? Is this your,
I do journal. I do journal for my peace of mind. I do journal for clarity. I do journal, but I don't love, I love speaking. I love communicating. I love language, but writing, if I'm going to be completely transparent, it's a different discipline.
Yeah.
It's a different process. It's a different discipline than just getting up and opening your mouth and saying whatever, right? So I think it was necessary because I feel that God also used the writing process to help me fine tune my speaking gift. And one of the things that helped me out as a writer is, understanding that the gift to speak wasn't just the speaking that comes through your mouth, but it's your audible words, but my written words as well. And so when I was able to mentally marry the two, It got a little bit easier, but I wrestled with that throughout. Like
Yeah.
I kept saying, I'm not a writer. I'm not a writer. That's what I was
Yeah.
professing over myself, right? So
Yeah.
of course it was difficult because I kept every time I had to write, I was like, I'm not a writer. I'm not a writer.
Yeah.
Until I right here beside me, it's still here in my office. I have some declarations that the Lord gave me that as soon as I sit down, it's like the first thing I see. There is an anointing on your life, both in your spoken word and your written word. You both your spoken and your written word has the power to deliver and heal. Like I had like some powerful declarations, and so I needed that. Like I
Yeah.
needed that because the part of me that had never done this before kept saying, I can't do this. Yeah. Yeah.
So I love to be fully transparent, and because there's going to be another episode, and I want to share this with you. You reached out to me, I think it was on Instagram, and you'd mentioned that you'd written a book, and if it'd be okay to send it to me. And I was like, oh yes. And at the time I was in a season, like a really,
Yeah.
life is life is
It's
great.
doing what it does best. Yeah.
The day that it arrived in my mailbox, that season was completely behind me, and I was in a very different season. And I remember reading it, and the title says Courage and Confidence, a bold guide to unboxing who you were created to be. And I think what I remember, because I remember opening it up, it was on my table and I saw it. And what hit me in that moment was that this was going to be a book that helps me in my next season as I start to create who I'm going to be in my next season, because I knew the season I was in had to end. So I'm in this new creation of this new season at this point in time. And so I want to read this book. I want to internalize it. I want to bring you back, and I want to share with you what it's going to do in my life and manifest, because I know it will from what I've already started reading. What I want to ask you today is favorite chapter.
Okay. So I think it's chapter 3 or 4.
The box
Unboxing.
you've outgrown, the box you've created.
Is that the relationship? It's the relationship one.
Unboxing your relationships.
Yeah. What chapter is that?
That's
3?
number 3.
3. Chapter 3, which if you haven't read already, you'll read. I somewhere in there, I start out talking about the fact that it was the most difficult chapter. My most favorite chapter was the most difficult chapter to write. So yeah, that would be chapter 3.
And can I ask why? Was it because it's about all types of relationships?
All types of relationships, and not just the relationship we have with people, but the relationship we have with places, seasons of our lives, that it's time to move on from, but we struggle with. And so, at the time, I didn't know, it just would not flow. I would skip it. Like, I'm a very linear person, so I hated the fact that I had to skip it and keep writing, because I'm like, no, you write 1 and then 2 and then 3, right? I'd skip it, I'd come back, and it just was like, ugh, I couldn't write it. One day I'm sitting at my laptop, and I literally, like, you'll read it word for word. I jump up from jump to my feet, and I'm like, oh my gosh, like, it was like, I knew what I had to do. There was a relationship to a place that I had that was a big part, is a big part of the shaping and forming of my identity. It was a place and people who I call home, and I was feeling an internal nudging to move on from that place. But because I liked the security and the familiarity of being where I called home, I hadn't made that shift.
Yeah.
And so here I was, trying to write a chapter about unboxing your relationships and, and moving when God tells you to move. And I hadn't realized, and God was just like, listen, like, he was just like, listen, I've been asking you, and I've been telling you, it's time to move from this place. You cannot take people where you have not been. And I had unboxed and severed at different stages in my life, like cutting relationships and moving on from things wasn't a new concept to me. But in that moment, my obedience to that ask, chapter 3 was hinging on my obedience of that ask.
Wow.
And so I was like,
so it cleared.
It cleared it. And I went like literally the same time. I said to my husband, are you free? We need to go and have this conversation with these people and tell them we out. And like that's the urgency I felt. And it was painful. It was everything I expected it to be. But when I got back and I sat, it was like
the
floodgates, the clarity, the power, the honesty. It was just like, so yeah.
Isn't there always something just niggling on our spirit? Like, I don't think we hear that when we're in the bustle of things. I think it's really, I think there's a constant nudging. Like I've definitely have recognized that God has knocked on my door on a number of things. And the moment you realize it and you let it go, it's like this release. I remember one time I was listening to, I think it was TD Jakes, and he talked about when you're feeling this sense, I think we're always supposed to feel inner peace. Like that, I think our natural state is this state of inner peace. He says, when you're feeling like something's calling you, but you feel like you're held back, he says, you have to find your Jonah. And when you find your Jonah,
throw it over
and throw it over.
Throw it overboard.
Throw it overboard.
Yeah.
There's a natural flow that comes to life. Wow.
And I love that word you talk about, that bustling, because that's what unboxing is, right? It's an invitation to sit long enough with yourself and with Holy Spirit to hear the things, see the things, unpack the things, because life it's just going like so rapidly, right? And we don't realize how much on a daily basis, and even I would dare to say moment by moment, it is almost in the same way we don't see the Earth's rotation. Like, you know what I mean? Like that's how life is pulling us out of alignment. Pulling a little bit every day. We're moving away from our core, right? And so unboxing is the invitation to come back in alignment, sit with these different key areas of our life and really go, okay, well, how did this get in here? Well, this don't go in this pile. Oh, that was here. I need that. I'm keeping that, right? Yeah.
So I also find your book is written in a way you kind of talked about in terms of your process. It is actually written in a way that once you get through it, you can actually go back and reference certain, like it's almost like a reference. Like I kind of noted that from the table of contents, so much so that it took me one of the first pages I opened up to. So I'm a gratitude girl. I write in my gratitude journal every single day. And you talk about gratitude that's informed from guilt. And that
was chapter 3. That was chapter 3.
Oh, is it in chapter 3 too?
That's why I'm like,
yes. How is gratitude informed from guilt?
Yeah. Again, we sometimes stay locked into people and places longer than we should be. And we convince ourselves that because we are grateful to either who they've been to us or what they've done to us, you know, like, and so we're staying out of gratitude, right? But really, you know, there are some indicators and some flags that our perceived gratitude might actually be guilt informed, right? So I'd be happy to share some of them with you.
Yeah, let me hold on now. Go on. It's
right.
Chapter
so
3.
Do you want to find it? Do you want to read it, or you want me to go?
Yeah, I'm looking for chapter 3. So 53. I remember there was a table. Here we go.
Yeah.
Okay, so it says guilt or gratitude. Here are 5 red flags that your gratitude may, in fact, be guilt informed. I love that, guilt informed. How to detect if you're motivated by guilt or gratitude. Guilt says, I owe you. Gratitude says, I appreciate you. Oh. So then I'm just trying to, because I'm trying to translate this into something very tangible as I write in my gratitude journal. So if I say, I appreciate X.
Mm-hmm.
There's another question that I have to ask. Is that appreciation absent of anything that I feel I owe for that? Is that?
I think the ability to say I appreciate indicates that you are speaking from a gratitude place.
Okay. Okay.
Because it's like I appreciate has a period at the end of it, right? Like I
Mm-hmm.
appreciate, thank you, so long,
Yes.
versus I owe you has a comma. This
Mm.
hanging because now if I owe you, I gotta hang around to repay you
To pay
and
you.
appease
Oh.
you
Mm.
and all of the things, right?
Okay. I like that.
Mm-hmm.
Another one. I have to.
Mm-hmm.
That's what guilt says. Guilt says I have to.
Mm-hmm.
Gratitude says I'm happy to.
Mm-hmm. So if you've ever been invited to go somewhere,
Yeah. Yeah. If
right?
you have to. Yes.
Yeah, that
Right.
feeling of I
Hmm.
have to be there
Yeah.
versus I'm happy to be here. I get
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
be
It could
a
be the
part of
FOMO.
it.
It could be, could FOMO play into that a bit?
It could be, but I think specifically here what we're getting at is what we think is the indebtedness part, right? What
Mm-hmm.
we think is
Mm-hmm.
owed to
Um,
the individual or the place on the other side of our action.
right. It's almost
Yeah,
like you feel like you wouldn't be given grace
right.
if you didn't show up
And don't deserve it,
and
maybe.
don't deserve grace. Ah, okay. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
How to do, okay, so this one also, guilt says they will be mad.
Mm-hmm.
They will understand. I think that that's important, right?
Yeah.
Like, yeah, yeah. Guilt says I should.
Mm-hmm.
Gratitude says I get to.
Yeah.
Yeah. Look what we get to do.
Yeah. Joy.
Yeah. And then guilt says, this is a big one for me. Ooh, I don't deserve this.
Mm-hmm.
And then gratitude says, thank you.
Just thank you. Just thank you. Yeah. Guilt keeps us tethered. Gratitude gives us the grace and the relief
Yeah.
to keep it moving.
It's an abundance.
Mm-hmm.
It's an abundance. Guilt, I think, like as I'm thinking about this, it's like it's that angst. You feel it in your belly almost. Like I
Yeah.
feel I carry it in my belly.
Yeah. We do carry it in
Yeah.
our bodies
Yeah.
100%.
Wow. Wisdom girl. This book it takes something from you, eh?
Yeah. There's a lot of affliction to write this.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to get into rapid thrivers, but just as maybe just on this, because like I said, I do really want to take this in. I want to be a woman who heals, right? And so I think that's I think that's an outcome of unboxing again. And it's funny because I always say I've unboxed. I read a book called A Return to Love in 2014 that informed my personal development journey then. And so this is probably the one that's going to inform this season of life. And there is something about reaching in and I called it at the time, ripping out the pain, the shame, the looking at it, exposing it to light, throwing empathy. Like I almost feel like this is going to be that process for me.
Mm-hmm. And it's
So,
also pulling out the treasure, right? Like a part
okay,
of,
as well. Right. Yeah, I
yeah,
guess so.
it's
Yeah.
I pulling out and identifying the treasure. And I am so, I feel so honored and blessed that you refer to it, that you said, it feels like a resource, because that is exactly the place that I wrote it from. Like, this is not one of those, follow these 10 steps, do them, live your best life. But no, I want it to be weathered. Like, I want it to be sticky notes and flags and underlines and the
And
spine
shared
falling out.
and shared
Yeah.
and taught and used to teach, right? Like
Yeah,
I
because you
truly
have to
believe
keep.
I will teach from your
Oh,
book. I
awesome.
will teach from your
Awesome.
book. Yeah, it'll inform things and empower to my skin for sure.
Mm.
Yeah. And so you know what? I probably answered my next question because I was going to say for like the listeners, what is like one big thing you'd love them to be able to take away? And I think that answers that, right? That they're able to continue to go back and reuse the teaching and then teach others from it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Woo! I love it. So in this stage of life, we're going to go into rapid thrivers. We'd love to know, when you think of someone who inspires you, who comes first to mind?
When I think of someone who inspires me,
Yeah.
who's inspiring me right now? Um, it's like a whole network. It's just a network of people. So the first name that came to mind for me is Dr. Sarita Lyons.
Mm,
Her book is actually releasing in May as well, I believe.
mm,
Yeah. And I say there's a network of them because they all do work around apologetics, so
mm,
teaching and defending the Bible. And so
mm,
I think people like Dr. Sarita, I think of people like Pastor Eric Mason,
mm,
Jackie Hill Perry. Like
mm,
there's a network of them right now
mm,
that are like
mm.
deep into like, yeah, we're just out here to just
Really teach
preach the
you. Yeah,
word, teach
word.
the
Yeah.
word. Yeah. And I'm excited about that.
Mm. I think well, let me not, no assumption. What is a daily activity that really helps you be empowered and thrive?
Journaling.
Okay.
Journaling. That's been big for someone who didn't enjoy writing. One of my clients actually produced a daily journal that I use. It's called Faith Walker. I think it's
Mm,
on Amazon,
mm,
but I sit and I'm surprised at how much time I
mm-hmm.
spend just sitting and going through my thoughts, and it really helps to
Does that have prompts? Is that
reposition. Yeah, there's
okay?
prompts.
Okay.
Yeah, there's
Mm-hmm.
a number of different prompts. There's a
Mm-hmm.
scripture, there's
Okay.
training.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, very, very, very integral to repositioning me daily.
Okay. You named a number of, authors or upcoming authors. What's a book that's helped you with your thrive?
The One Thing, I think we've
Oh yeah.
The One Thing by Gary Keller, is it?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
The One
Yeah.
Thing. And also more recently, the author's name slips me, but it's called The Ache for Meaning. The Ache for
Ache
Meaning.
for meaning.
The
Oh,
Ache
okay.
for
The
Meaning.
ache. Yeah.
Ooh,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
so good. So
Lots
good.
of people are doing that, especially coming out of the pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
There's a yearning that people
Yes.
have that
Yes.
there's the search for meaning. Do you
Mm-hmm.
think we overcomplicate it?
One, oh, 100%. I talk about it. There's a whole chapter about that in the book.
Okay. Okay.
There's a whole chapter about that.
Okay. Okay.
We complicate it. I think we like it complicated.
Okay.
We definitely
We
overcomplicate.
we overcomplicate, and you help us
100%.
simplify it in this book.
100%.
100%.
Yeah.
Can't wait. Okay. What is an app that helps you with your thrive?
What is an app that helps me with my thrive? As I look at my phone, I'm like, what do I go to? Okay,
Well, like your Instagram.
so this might so this may seem so not connected, but it is. It's the plant app, the plant parent app.
Okay. The
And
pl- the plan parent
plant parent app.
plant parent. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so the reason why I share that one, it's not something that clearly like anyone can use if you don't have, but I say it's helpful because during the pandemic, I became a plant mom. I was never a plant person.
Oh, like a real
Like
plant.
plants, yeah, like
Okay.
physical plants, yeah.
Okay. Does it tell you to water your
It
plants?
tells me to water and
Why did you tell me about
fertilize.
this? I just killed a damn plant that got as a gift.
And like if the light, it measures the light that it's getting, but
Really?
it's not so much the app, but
Yeah.
it's just what it signifies in terms of me having an outlet
Yeah.
that that's something
Nurture that.
nurturing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's something that it really keeps me connected to that nurturer, softer,
Mm-hmm.
life-giving part of me. Um, and
Oh, the
so it's a
plant
big
parent
part
app.
of
Okay. I
Mhm.
had no clue. And
Yeah.
yeah, that's interesting. I'm gonna check it out. I might have to share with my girlfriend that loves plants. I don't know if she knows about it, but I love that.
Mhm.
So, Nicole, like you're a coach, pastor, like I named off and rhymed off. Now you're an author of
Yeah.
an amazing book that I believe um, took a lot out of you to write and now share. Um, what is one misconception that people have of you um, as you're lifing and going through all these and exposing yourself and putting yourself out there like you do?
I think that one of the biggest misconceptions is if I look like I'm doing well, it's just because I somehow have all the tools in the packaging, like, oh yeah, but you can say anything. You could do it because but you're just good at speaking, or but you're good with writing. Oh, but you
Mm,
like, no. Like, I think
It's
it's yes, yes, and I shouldn't say no.
yes,
Yes,
yeah.
yes, and right. I work my butt
Mm,
off. None of this comes in easy. And I talked about this in your program, the difference between ease and
This,
easy,
yes, yeah.
right? And so there's an ease when I operate in my created identity, but it's not easy. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And I would
I
say
like
that's
that.
the biggest misconception, that somehow I'm just living this easy
I like that.
breezy, effortless life.
Yeah, I can identify with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks for giving me that language. That's good. It's
Yeah.
good. So, where do we find more of you? Get your book, maybe get it signed. Do you have any appearances? We're April 18th. So do you have any appearances coming up and
Yeah,
local? Yeah, we're in
actually,
Toronto.
April. Yeah, so I am just getting ready to wrap up a two-city uh launch of the
Mm-hmm.
book. So,
Mm-hmm.
we did Atlanta on April 9th, the actual release day. And so I'm actually just getting back from that. I was in North Carolina and then Waycross. And so I call it the homecoming. So April 20th is the homecoming
Okay.
for the launch of Courage and Confidence. So if you are in the Greater Toronto area, it's free to VIP. So, I mean, it doesn't get any better than that.
Yes.
You know, get your book online on Amazon or anywhere books are sold, or come on out to the launch event and get your copy in person and get it signed. And
I love
let's
it.
meet each other and yeah, and
I love
celebrate.
it. I love it. And where do we and find you online?
Yeah, so you can find me at my website, Nicole O. Don't forget the letter O, Nicole O Salmon, spelled just like the fish.com. And you can find me on all social media platforms at Nicole O Salmon. I always say I vacation on Facebook, but I live on Instagram.
I love it. I love it. Wow. This has been great. I have one parting question for you. This podcast is called Empowered in My Skin, and would love to know what that means to you.
Again, like I think the word empower might be the one that sticks out for most, but I think for me, that statement of your skin.
Mm,
And that's what it means to me, is, like I said earlier, is your skin. What does
mm,
your skin look like? And that will bring empowerment.
yeah. Wow.
Mhm.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
You're
Such an enriching
welcome.
conversation. I know we prayed before, and I think we it was enriching. It's
Yes.
far reaching. I always say I'm never after this direct connection. It's through this mechanism,
Yeah.
this platform that we get to touch, and this one is no exception. Its empowerment will have no bounds. So thank you so much, Nicole. Thank you everyone for listening. And this is the point where I say we're out. Bye-bye. Bye. There you have it. I trust that you're feeling more empowered in your skin. And as the late Dr. Maya Angelou says, when you get, you give, when you learn, you teach. So it would mean so much for us at EIMS if you share this episode and tag us, or teach an insight that you learned from today's episode on your socials and tag us. And remember to go over onto iTunes and leave us a review, or follow us on socials at Empowered in My Skin. But most importantly, don't forget to subscribe so you never miss an episode.